Let's make a background for our sunset silhouette. I have a paint scraper that I'm going to use as my tool to spread out the paint. I want to keep my hands clean, so I'm going to hold one edge of the paint scraper. It's an edge that is opposite one of the corrugated edges, which is a little stronger, so that's the edge that we want to touch the paint when we scrape it. Of course, before I get that, my name will have to go on the back, as well as my class code. So once you have your name and class code on the back, you'll flip it over, and you can tell that I am working on top of a placemat so that I can go all the way up to the edges without getting our table messy. After Ms. Beyerle puts some paint on your paper, remember you're going to hold one edge of the paint scraper and begin to carefully scrape to spread out the paint. I want to end up covering the whole paper, so I really want to go all the way up to the edges as well. I'm doing what I need to keep my hands clean by holding the paper in an empty spot and then dragging the paint with the scraper. My hands are still clean. If I need to hold it again later, I can touch a part of the paper that's already dry so my hands stay nice and clean. Eventually, Ms. Beyerle might walk around and put another color on your paper, and then you can use the scraper to spread it out as well. Our goal is to cover all the white spaces in the paper, so when I'm dragging the paint with a scraper, I want to drag it to places that are empty and don't have paint instead of dragging it to places that are already covered. That'll help me fill up my paint before fill up my paper before the paint dries. I'll also try to help by putting paint in the spots that look white. Remember, we want our paint to go all the way to the edge. We're using the warm colors today, which are yellow, orange, and red, as well as pink, because pink is a mix of red and white. When you're done scraping your paint, it should look like your entire paper is covered and we're not seeing any white spots. Your paint scraper has more paint on it than you think, so if you feel like you're running out of paint, carefully tap your paint scraper onto a spot that's looking a little white. You can also look for areas that look thicker, and you can drag the paint from that area to an area that's looking like it needs a little bit more paint. There we go. I think this is looking pretty good. Any remaining white spots are relatively small, but I can keep looking for paint on my paper already to fill those in. The last step is going to be to add some clouds because we're imagining that this is a sunset. I might put 0 if you don't want any clouds, or 1 or 2 or 3 dots of paint on your paper. I have 2 white dots of paint on my paper. This is the one part where I'm going to barely touch the paint with just one finger. So I'm going to use the pointer finger of my drawing hand, and I'm going to begin to carefully make some little swirls. If I swirl too much, the cloud will disappear. So I just want to swirl a little bit till I think that it looks like a fluffy cloud in the sky. If your paint is still wet, it might blend with the color like it is here. And that's okay because oftentimes clouds in the sunset will reflect the colors of the sunset. So if your cloud starts to blend in, you might want to stop painting or accept that it's okay, that it'll be a very pastel colored cloud. When I'm done with my clouds, what I will do is I will take my finger and I will wipe it off on the messy mat, getting off as much paint as I can so my finger is almost all the way clean. By twisting it, there we go. My hands are still very clean and I'm ready to listen to directions for cleanup of my paper, placemat, and paint scraper.